Today, this video it's a follow-up to some videos I already did about the Tissot T-Touch. And I was going to say, you know, this is mostly a vintage watch channel. So if you're not interested in quartz watches, you know, feel free to move on or whatever. Don't watch this video. But actually, there's some interesting things about this watch. First of all, I think the Tissot T-Touch watch, like I've worn one for like 7 years straight. It's probably the watch I wore the most in my lifetime. It's a quartz watch, but it has all these cool functionalities. But it's also, it has a reputation for being finicky because of the construction of it. Because it's a quartz watch, it has some complicated things. It does temperature and barometer, compass, all this other stuff. Okay, so anyway, the point is, I have 3 of these. I have one that's kind of parted out here. I have one that I've been wearing it lately, and this is a hybrid. Like I replaced the insides of. Originally I got this stainless steel version of the T-Touch II for Father's Day, like in, I don't know, 2010 or something like that. And then eventually I swapped out the internals because, so this is the old internal from this one. And I think there was a problem with this. I don't even remember. But anyway, this is a titanium. This is stainless steel. And then I also bought this titanium. Trying to get that camera to focus. That's strange. The camera is not supposed to have so much trouble. Oh, that's bizarre. Okay, anyway. I bought this one actually just to collect because it was a titanium in perfect condition. Now, this one needs a battery replacement. So I'm gonna replace that battery, but I also was like, somebody asked me about something. So the issue with replacing the battery is, like, normally if you're going to open a watch, you should also reseal it for water tightness. And this watch T-Touch II is kind of difficult to do that, particularly with the pushers. So I did some experimenting. I wish I hadn't, but I did some experimenting, like getting ready to make this video. I think I'm losing my mojo because I broke something before making the video. I'm like, I should have broken it while I was making the video. Why did I do that? So, but anyway, here we are. I found it was really interesting. So it may apply to other watches, this kind of troubleshooting mentality. But the definitely losing my mojo. The things that I need to do this are the watch I want to replace the battery in, some batteries, some gasket silicone for resealing the case back gasket, and then this is a different silicone. Same thing. This is just on a sponge to help distribute it onto the case back gasket. So a couple more things I wanted to say about that. First of all, T-Touch II is a cool watch because it uses this battery called CR2032. And CR2032 is the battery that's been used in like every computer made for the last 20 years, every desktop computer, as the CMOS ROM clock, whatever. Really, it's the real-time clock battery. But because of that, the CR2032 will always exist. So it's a watch that you won't have a problem with sourcing a battery at some point in the future. Now, the other things I want to say about this is that I think we'll just get into this button thing right away. So I was curious, like, how hard would it be to... Oh, it's interesting. No, there's no way to solve this now. So I was interested, how hard would it be to remove the buttons, re-grease them, check the gaskets, and then make sure your buttons are okay when you do a battery replacement. And prior to this, I was just like, it would be impossible. And now I think it might be possible, but it's still kind of close to being impossible. And I'll show you why. So, sorry about that, banging that microphone. I pulled off that center button. I'll show you on one of the buttons beside it. So see that button? When you push it, the pusher comes in. Now that pushes on a piece of metal on the movement that makes contact, electrical contact. So that's how the button push happens. There's nothing electrical about this. It's just a push. And then I saw, okay, there's some kind of like pin with a fatter head. So that fat head on that pin is not going to go out. So to get this button off, you can't simply push that direction. So then I saw this video, and this unfortunately is about a T-Touch I. So this guy just pulled the pin off. This is called Tissot T-Touch blah 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 push button replacement. He used a pair of tweezers. Let's see if I can do this. He used a pair of tweezers like this, and he just pulled the center pin out like it's a press fit thing. So I did that over here. You can see the scratches on the case here. This damage to this plate was already there, but anyway, I tried pulling it. So what I did was I pushed the button in so I could get behind it. I also did some damage to my tweezers. These are tough electronics tweezers. And I tried to pull it off and I broke it. So what's cool about breaking things is then you get to see why they broke. So in this case, this is what I thought was really interesting and why anybody would want to watch this video. So this is the button and the head of the button. And what broke was actually this button tip is a screw. But the screw has no it has no slot. But it's I can say with almost 100% certainty that that's a screw, because inside that shaft you can see threads. Yeah, no question about it. That's a screw. So what I did when I was pulling on that is I just broke the screw, and then the button came out the other side of the watch. But what that means is that the proper way to service this is to unscrew that screw, that headless screw. And I'm presuming that there's a tool for that. Let me see if I can show that. There's no screw head on there. I mean, no slot. Oh, maybe there's a shape to the bottom of this. That's probably damage from the tweezers. Anyway, on these other buttons, we could try to remove them. It's strange to me that they made a screw without a... Well, one reason to make it without a slot, I can't think of any reason other than to not have people service this on their own. But you can grab this from the side with something like a tiny vice grip and turn it. I just or even a needle nose plier, I suppose. You could try that. But it shouldn't turn too easily or it could fall off. Anyway, that's why it's hard to service these. And then once you get into it, so what I want to do now is pop out whatever's in the center there. Because we got to figure out, even if you took this apart properly, can you get this piece out? To, change the O-ring. It doesn't want to come that way. Oh, maybe I'm pushing against. Let's take a better look at this. A lot of this work is easier. I just lost the button. Well, I think also I should point out that this movement is a junker. Oh, of course I can't push it out this way. That's all solid on this side. So let's just look at this interface here. This is how the button... Oh, I lost this. There was a spring on that. But basically, there's no water sealing on this side of it. The water seal is inside the hole there. I'm not going to crawl around and look for that spring right now. Okay, so then it's compressed underneath this little disc. So the next thing is we can try to dig that disc out. There's two ways to do that. We could try to push it from this side. And I got to be careful. I don't really care, actually. I was going to say I could damage the gasket if I'm not careful. So what I'm trying to do is get the tip of this tweezer against the back of this internal plate and just push it out. That doesn't want to come out either. Oh, what the hell? Huh. Okay, that was unexpected. And that's exactly what's interesting about this. Okay, so we do have a metal washer holding in a gasket. And it looks like almost like two separate gaskets. I don't think I broke those. I think there's a pair of gaskets for some reason. Now, the other thing that's interesting about this to me is that these gaskets they're in good shape. One thing I want to be thinking about here is like, is there any way that you can kind of lube those gaskets without doing all this destructive stuff? But basically, if you're a T-Touch owner and you want to know what's going on underneath those buttons, that's what it is. Two gaskets and a washer on this side. And then the button goes down with a spring. Button goes in with a spring, and then then this side is a screw head with no screw slot. And then whatever that plate that appears to be, I don't understand why that plate also seems removable, but it won't come out. Trying to think of why that would be. And that looks like glue, not grease. I still want to try to push that plate out and just prove it's a plate. Oh, that's nice. I did gave my tweezers a nice new shape. Okay, so the reason that that plate is a separate plate is just because I don't know. The way of assembling this thing in the first place? And maybe it's not. It sure looks like there's a crack there, though. Okay, so that's the difficulty with checking the lubrication on the Tissot. If you wanted to, you could probably, let's just try this for fun. We'll take some of this. I'm going to use way too much on purpose. Sorry. That's like so much, way too much. I'll show you why I'm doing this though. Don't use this much. I just want to see like if you did, you know, put it there. More carefully, that would pull it in. But I don't think that's a good idea. I would say leave that alone. See what I'm thinking is that if it just goes in there and then gets spread out into those two pieces of rubber that we know are there, it might be good. Okay, so then just while I'm at it, you know, this case back gasket, the way this works, this has silicone on this blue sponge. So that's how you put a thin layer on the gasket. And then this gasket just lays actually in the, you don't want to break, I'm doing everything wrong right now. You want to be very gentle with the tweezers because you don't want to damage the rubber. And then, you know, if that rubber's in good condition, I would use the original, I would just replace the original gasket after doing the battery replacement. Because if you put in a different gasket and it's not the factory one, oh, we got to get this to actually lay down in the. That's the other thing about gaskets is you don't want them to get pinched. You want them to be sitting in there correctly. So I'm just going to continue pretending to reassemble this because when I change the battery in this one, I might not show you the end process because we already know what it is. So I think this plate, just maybe there's a slot. Shit. So that plate has to line up correctly with the internals, so, but we're not going to worry about that. But basically this plate holds that plate, and it does center it when all the screws are lined up, and then it presses it straight down on that gasket. So I think that's the internals story. Oh, and then when we open this one to actually replace the battery, we'll find, I'll do that when we're in there, show you. At this point, you could just use a different video to replace the battery. I'm sure there's some good tutorials. My video seems to have gone off the rails at the beginning there. Turned into something else. Let's look at this for a second. So the Tissot T-Touch II. There's another, yeah, I'll put the weight in the description, but this one weighs like twice as much as this because this is titanium, and it has a titanium clasp, and it has this rubber bracelet, and this is all stainless steel. So I think it's almost like 100 grams more. Maybe this is like 100, this is 80, and this is 180 or something like that. But after you're used to wearing this steel one, if you put the titanium on, it feels like you're wearing like a piece of plastic or a toy or something. So I'm just debating. I'm gonna change the battery of this T-Touch II off camera, and the reason is, there are other videos out there that show you how to do it. I just talked about the re-waterproofing it, which is really what people are most interested in, and the most challenging thing has to do with the button. Otherwise, it's just a matter of opening it, carefully removing the battery, putting in a new battery. And I'm not going to waste your time telling you what how to do what this video is about, because there are other videos that do that. Hi, welcome to I Shoot Watches. My name is Dayton. Today I'm going to talk about, or I'm going to show you how to change the battery in a Tissot T-Touch II. But I'm also going to do kind of little tear down run through of what is in a T-Touch II. So I have two Tissot T-Touch II, actually three. Two are working. This one needs a new battery. If I do anything with it, it'll start, I think, actually, let me try to show you. This is an interesting watch because it has this compass function. So the hands, I'll show you, see there you get the battery. So it needs a battery. So that's the point of the video. But the thing about this watch is, here's the other one. It has, you activate the touch function by, that's funny, it went blurry. Holding that, and then you can put it in compass mode, and then it points north if it's outdoors. Right now it's just kind of searching, but and then the hands, that's the main thing that they do. If you do like chrono, so stopwatch, it just points at what mode it's in. So if you go thermometer, oops, that's barometer. Thermometer is here. So it points at thermometer, tells you it's 25. And then I think it has I know it has a light in the LCD. It's too bright. You actually can't see it, but it's on. Okay, anyway, that's Tissot T-Touch II. After some time, the hands go back to telling the time. So this one is titanium, and this one is stainless steel. And I'll go into the details of the difference of that after we go through some technical details about how this watch, well, not how it works exactly, but the big features of it. So the dial, let's see, the dial obviously has this LCD display in it. This is the back of the LCD display. The rest of this is basically just plastic. And then the main module is this. This has the hands on it, but normally the hands should come up through the hole in the dial, of course. And then this is two motors, stepper motors, controlled by the chip that's underneath that plastic there. So, and then it has a crystal, and the crystal is temperature controlled, which means that it's constantly monitoring the temperature with a thermometer and correcting for the drift that's caused by the different temperature of the crystal. So it makes it very, very accurate. And a lot of quartz watches have that, but this watch is, Tissot T-Touch II is very accurate over long periods of time. Like you could set it once a year, and I don't know what the specs are exactly, but a few seconds or something over a year. So compared to a mechanical watch, it's basically a watch you never have to set. And then these two modules are connected electronically by this little piece of conductive material, which you can see it kind of has a little linear pattern. That's because it conducts electricity in this direction across an array of pin positions, basically, but it doesn't conduct laterally. So it basically sits on top of that set of pins. And then there's a corresponding groove in this. Oh, wait, I don't even see where that would connect to, though. Maybe it connects on the side. Anyway, it comes up like this. And connects those 7 pins to the display. It's strange though. I would think that there would be a more positive contact inside there. Anyway, this is one of the reasons one of the reasons I really recommend not taking this watch apart, because it's possible that you could take it apart and put it back together, but if you get a little bit of like oil from your hand or something on that conductive material and try to put it back, it's probably never going to work again. And I haven't had, well, this watch I don't even attempt to get it to work. I forget why I took it apart, but I think there was something wrong with it. Okay, so anyway, that's kind of the logic. This is just battery. We'll see this again in these watches when we change the battery. And then the final, oh yeah, this is important too. On the back of the main module, there are some pins that connect to this thing. And this thing is I think it's the thermometer and the barometer. But basically, it's on the outside of the case, but the electrical contacts are on the inside of the case and go to the main board. So this is another thing that's kind of fidgety and fragile about this watch. These connectors are all springs, so that they're so this can be removed and put back on. It's a more stable electrical connection than the piece of rubber I was telling you about. But you can lose these springs. There's also springs that come up through that ground this back. So you have to be careful with all that stuff if you disassemble this watch. I'm not sure what that panel is, if it's important. It might just be non-conductive because it's behind the battery or something. I don't know. Okay, so then the other thing is, when you take the first back off, this back off, you have to be careful because in this hole, there's usually like a glob of silicone, this stuff, which is just, it's grease that is non-water soluble. So it protects the little piece that's floating in there in that grease. And we'll see that in the other ones when I take them apart. I might only do one, but in that grease, you'll have that fragile little thing that's just suspended by some thin wires. And I think the reason for that is so that it's not affected by the temperature of the watch case, but it can take the ambient temperature a little bit faster, particularly if you're in water or something. So anyway, that's the basic components. And then the next thing I wanted to get to is when you change the battery of a watch, this watch in particular, the important thing is if you're doing it yourself, which of course is what this video is about, when you reseal it, you want to make sure that you seal it back up again as best it can be so that it remains waterproof. And I know that Tissot recommends that you only have them change the battery because they don't want you to destroy your watch, and they know that there's a risk if you do it yourself. But if you're doing it yourself anyway, the rubber seal can peel out. It's round, so there's no top or bottom. And then you can treat it in silicone. These things cost a couple bucks from AliExpress. It's just a silicone impregnated sponge. So you can put the case back and seal in there, twist it a couple times, and that'll put enough grease on it if it's clean, and if everything else is clean, that it'll help it seal when you put that plate back on. And then the other thing is, the real reason that this watch, you have to be careful with this watch, and this one I've already done some testing with, so it's already opened up. Again, this is a junker, but what happened was I was trying to figure out how to take the buttons off. So when the button comes off, it has two seals inside a washer and the button itself. And the way it all fits together, although I don't recommend doing this, you'll see why. Let me see how best to explain this. I'll leave out the washer and the gaskets for now. I'll tell you though, both gaskets go in this center hole, and then that metal washer, and then the button goes on, and then on the back of the button there's a screw that holds the button in, that keeps it from coming out. And the interesting thing about that screw is that the screw has no head on it. So you can see this one in the center, the screw has been removed, and this one, the screw head is there, and the screw head is what keeps it from falling out. So here we have the screw head from the button that I have in the case right now. So then the next thing, I actually broke that screw head off, taking off this button. I just forced it and it broke off. So that was how but then I looked at this and I was like, well, it is a screw, because I could see the threads inside the tip of the button. So on this other one, I looked at the direction of the threads. It's conventional direction. And then on this next button, I want to actually remove the screw. I wanted to see if it was possible, so I could tell you if it's possible or not. And I still don't recommend it, but I'm pretty sure it's possible. So one of the reasons I'm interested in all this stuff is I'm interested in like the evolution of sorry, let me get this right. I'm interested in, like, this is a good watch, modern watch, these pliers look so big under the microscope. Again, this is just not something I recommend doing. I just wanted to do it. I'm always curious what techniques, manufacturers are using. So I wouldn't be surprised. I'm really curious how Tissot gets this headless screw off when they do this. They may just break it off and then replace the whole button. Or they may have a special tool that can really grab it. And then all this stuff is just kind of interesting to me because it's interesting to know if manufacturers, for example, this very much feels like it's purposely made not to be user serviceable. So Tissot is one of the companies in the Swatch group, which also owns ETA, the movement manufacturer, and a bunch of other watch companies. But to my mind, manufacturing something with this kind of a system, it's making it so that an average watchmaker would have a hard time servicing the watch properly. There you go. So I don't know why they would do that, and I like to actually get my hands on stuff like this and then kind of ask myself, did they do this just to be unfriendly to independent watchmakers, or did they do it because there's some advantage to the way that they did it? And in this case, I'm not sure what the answer to that is. Okay, so there's that button. Now let's see. I want to show you what's inside. So that's the back side, and this is the side that I know from experience. The two gaskets plus the washer are there. So we can pull these out. There's the washer. I don't believe that has a top or a bottom. And then I kind of want to look at the stacking of these washers if I can. Try to figure out if, the gaskets, I mean. Because I'm curious if they have a top and a bottom. Okay, so that's how they came out. And it looks like they're kind of, I already looked at the ones, the other two that I took out. There you can see it empty now. So there's a couple things that I want to look at actually on these gaskets. And the first one is, are they arranged a certain way? It seems to me that they have a flat side and a curved side, and they're kind of kissing each other. The round sides are kind of kissing each other. But let me see. And then the other thing I want to look at is the oil, is the grease hardening? And what kind of grease is it? So that looks like, it looks like silicone grease. And it still looks liquid in the where those two gaskets are coming together. And the part that doesn't look liquid doesn't look particularly unusual. Like that is kind of how, yeah, I would say that all that grease is fine. So this this is not like the grease has turned hard or anything. Well, so this would probably still, you know, have been waterproof without any, if like there's no reason to take this button apart. This is the wash or the gasket that feels like it's a little bit flat on one side and domed in the other side. And then this one feels kind of just donut-like. So they do seem a little bit different. And the flat surface one, I'd have to go back and look at the video and see if I could tell which one was on top of the stack when I pulled them out. I'm guessing this flat side goes in towards the movement, but I'm not sure it matters. But in any case, that all looks good in terms of like no reason to take that button apart anyway. We can look at the screw just for a second. Oh, and then there's a spring there too. I'm not even going to try to do this because the interesting thing here is simply that screw, it does not have a head. It's deformed from the pliers. It was also perfectly flat on top. And you kind of would want it to be flat on top because what it does when you push the button, you know, this is not an electrical switch or anything. Let me move this. Sorry, it is an electrical switch, but let's talk about the function of that. All the pusher is a pusher, which it is an electrical switch in the sense that when you push it, it does something electrical. But the electrical part of it is in it's in these contacts on the side of the, I don't know what you call that. I guess you call it a movement. So the pusher pushes that makes electrical contact and so on. Okay, so I think that's it. I just thought if you're, this is the kind of thing, if I was taking apart a watch like this, this is a watch I'm very attached to. I've had it for 7 years. I like to know everything about what's inside of it. I had to sacrifice a watch to find out. You now know without making any sacrifice. So now we'll get on with the actually just changing the battery. Oh, there's a, is that the screw or is that a different screw? That is the screw. I don't need this stuff. I just like to keep it together. Okay, so then having just done that, it gives me some confidence to actually open a watch. I'm just debating, this one doesn't need a battery, so I don't think I'll do this one. But before I take them apart, I'll show you something else, which is the difference in weight between the steel and the titanium. So titanium is a aluminum alloy. So in some ways, I think it's more brittle than steel. So harder than steel, but not necessarily stronger than steel. So the titanium is 86 grams, and the steel is 182 grams. $182 versus 86. And can take off the... Oh, so the thing I decided, I'm not going to change the battery in this because it doesn't need it. Oh, something else I wanted to say. I know this is too much detail, but if you're interested in this watch, because I talked to people in the comments, and I know kind of the questions that people have. So somebody said he was interested in getting a titanium T-Touch II because he already had several steel. And having had both and lived with the steel one for many years, I bought the titanium because I thought titanium was cool. And I don't know, I bought one. It was used. And the thing about the titanium, it has this chrome finish, so it looks worse with age. Like this steel one, I wore it for 7 years, and yes, it's scratched up, but it's got this matte finish that you just don't really notice it, or it's not even matte; it's brushed. But still, I don't notice it on the steel like I do on the titanium. The titanium looks worse because it's so much glossier, and a new titanium looks cool. I mean, it looks super glossy and it looks nice, but then if you wear it, you know, as soon as you bang it around, it's going to look like crap. So I think steel, I prefer steel in terms of wearability. And then the, I kind of also wanted to pop the bezel off, but they both have rotating bezel. I've never had any problem with that. So I'm not going to mess with that right now. They both use the same strap system, so if you wanted to save a lot of weight on the steel, you could just switch to the rubber strap, and it'd probably save you a significant amount of weight. Now, just debating how I want to go about this in terms of, instead of taking off the bracelet, I think I'll just undo it. And the easiest way to do that, I think, is to remove this. There's a spring bar inside that. The only thing is this wants to flip like that. Okay, so let me just clean this a little bit. So I have the CR2032 batteries ready. These are the same batteries that are used in computers for their real-time clock for the last couple decades, so they're really easy to find. And they will be, they'll remain easy to find for a long time to come. Okay, I succeeded on loosening 2 of 4 screws. My screwdriver is, the blade is a bit thin for these screws, but because they're quite big, I think it's okay. Let's do this. This is a cheap Chinese screwdriver also, so technically when it's too big, when it's too narrow, and plus it's probably not perfectly flat. The way to solve that is file it down. I don't think that made a huge difference, but okay, it's giving though. I shouldn't really use the screwdriver or the sharpening stone in the same vicinity as these clean items, but yeah. Okay, so I slipped. Slipped again. Now, it'll be interesting to see if this watch is really, it's in great condition. I bought it used, but it was basically in perfect condition. But how much it's worn will become evident right now, and that is not very much, as in it really was new. It compared to other T-Touches, that basically is nothing, the amount of dust there. But because I'm trying to keep it like new, I'm going to clean off what is there. Oh, also you can see that sensor. Okay, that's cool. I'll get that under the microscope. I'm curious about that myself. Okay. I've never seen the sensor in a new watch like this. It's kind of exciting to me. Wow. So that donut white circle is a reflection of my ring light. And that clear stuff is, in my experience, that's some kind of gel. Like it's not a hard plastic. Looks like there's 5 contacts. Anyway, that's cool. Still trying to be careful not to do something stupid. So the next thing is to lift the back. I should be using finger cots. I can see if I can get away with just 2. Okay, that's interesting. The seal stuck on the plate there, so that's definitely something I'm going to I'm going to put silicone on that again. And then you can see here, there's a spring right here that brings the ground from this gold-plated insert to the, probably up to this ring right here. I'm not sure though. I probably should have put this watch to sleep before changing the battery, but it's too late now. It has a kind of sleep mode, and I think if I had put it in sleep mode, it wouldn't have to be resynchronized. This is Duracell battery, and it comes with a protector on it you have to take off. It's interesting though, I think that seems like a terrible idea because it still has another insulator just like on the edge there, like that could be a problem for somebody. Okay, so then the next thing is we have to release it here. Actually, maybe you push it out this way. I'm so good at this. Okay, that should be that. Now, the other thing is the gasket. That gasket is like, does not have a lot of silicone on it. I wonder if there's a reason. So now we want to make sure the gasket's laying in the so it's laying in the slot for it. So when you sandwich it in there, it can't get pinched in the wrong position. And then this thing, I believe it's keyed, so it can only go in the correct position, which it's in. What I'm trying to do is just make sure that everything is seated correctly. And one of the tests of that should be like these screws should go in and not feel like they're cross-threading or anything odd. I'm removing it again because that fourth screw was not going as easily as it should. you basically, you have those springs underneath that are pushing up on the inside case back. Also, this screw is actually a little bit corroded. I think it was a little bit, because of that corrosion, it was a little bit weird. I should have taken the whole strap off. Okay. Now the watch is dead because I didn't properly shut it down. I can't remember how you solve that. That's why they tell people don't do this yourself. This is like almost an hour-long video, and all I did was change the battery in a quartz watch. And now the watch is not working. But the let's look up synchronizing T-Touch. My mistake was not to put it to sleep before I did it, but I'm pretty sure I've done this before, and it's just a matter of doing a reset. There's one thing that's very strange about this watch design, which is that metal just going everywhere. How does that not short out that battery? How does that not short out that battery? Is there an insulator there that's missing? Yes. Of course there is. Now, that's not my fault. This is a watch that I bought used, and this thing See that line? That is a sheet of plastic on the bottom of that dish. And this doesn't have it. So, of course, that dish shorts out the battery. So, buyer beware. Okay, let's figure out how to get this piece of plastic covered tray out of there. It's almost like the battery. Just comes out. Just slightly bigger than the battery. That is the most up thing I've ever seen. Okay, if I wanted to peel this up to get that under there, how would I do that? Just comes up. Okay, so again, the whole issue here is that this thing was missing this plastic insulator, and you can almost bet that that was a mistake from the moment this thing was manufactured. And it was just never properly it was a manufacturing mistake. But because the battery can kind of somehow bounce around in there and kind of be okay, it just created a huge intermittent problem. That's why the person forwarded it to me. Like, that's why I got to buy a brand new watch. They just send it when it happened to be working. And that also led to like a slow battery leak. And that's why I had a battery problem even though it was a new watch. Anyway, I think we solved it. I'll tell you, what I kept staring at was like, how can you have a battery like sitting in this thing? Because I could see with my eye there was no insulator on that, but I could also see it was kind of working. So I was like, I should have trusted my instinct. Like, that was not something that works. Just that it's very tricky when something works intermittently, because it's always very tricky. Now, the chances of you running into this problem, the same problem, are basically zero. But I can't even really say that it says something about quality control at Tissot. But I think it does. I think that's a huge quality control mistake. And then these things just end up on the used market. And mechanical watches, you know, it's the same. That's the same way with the used market. I lost a screw, but I have spares here. So anyway, I guess that's the fun thing about doing these things yourself. So because of that, we can now like mess with this, make sure it's not going to have that problem again, but it's not. So I think I remember how to do this. Go to option 24, and then we go to synchro. Now I'm forgetting again. How do you do that? You hold this. Okay, now 12, and then where do we do this one? Damn it. Okay, but the problem is I got to get to the other hand. And I still don't love the hour hand in that position. Is that an illusion? That seems correct to me. Okay, so now we got to set the time and the date. Okay, so remember date, 2 seconds. And then you wait for it to scroll through 5 years. I guess that's good enough, 22. But then, yeah, so then I have to do 2 seconds again. And then I got to go to 21:10. October 21. Uh, 10. Wait a few seconds. '21, 22. Okay, that's the date. Time. Now you see when you do this, the time and the hands move at the same time. So now we're going to 10:18. Man, that hand has some weird movement. 10:18. It's almost right. 17:50 and 17. See if I can hit this. 19. Why does it jump to 19 anyway? 18. Okay, close enough. And then time 2, we want to go to 16. 1618. Ugh, the freaking 1618. Okay, 418 in New York. October 21, 2022, 10:18 p.m. 418 in New York. And then we can look at the alarm again. It's blanked again, but that's fine. Alarm 2 blanked. Now, of course, it's fine because now it's fixed. And it's funny because like I was very now it's like the reality TV thing. Well, I was very frustrated. No, I was frustrated when it was like I don't know how to change the freaking battery. But apparently that was only a small part of the problem. Now this guy, the typical band is going to clasp like this, right? Oh boy. Tissot, quality control. I wonder if it's the... Damn it. I wonder if I'm being punished for my anti-monopoly feelings. Well, I'm glad to have that. I'm glad to have had that experience. How am I gonna? I gotta calm down a little bit. Make sure that this is. That's all right, right? I just don't want to use anything too rough on this. Wow. Wow, what a battery change that was. One of my problems is I don't like to walk away in the middle of an experience like that and just feel like somehow it's my fault, like I don't know what I'm doing, because there's an answer to everything. What I'm doing here is just using these cheap plastic tweezers to try to push that. There we go. Because when it slips like it did at the end there, it doesn't harm anything. That one is almost a fingernail capable thing. There's a spring bar there. Man. I just poked a hole in my thumb too. They did not mess around with that freaking spring bar. and for good reason. Okay. That was not easy. Now, there's something else I want to show you about this watch, which is the, excuse me, nighttime effects. So the lume and also the red light. There's an LED for the L liquid crystal display, LCD. So that's your lume. And because the lume is white in daylight or in natural light, it's high contrast against that black dial. So this, I've been wearing the other Tissot, which has the same black dial. I've been wearing it for the last week or so, and it's great in the early morning because that high contrast allows you to see. Oh, I want to show the LED. So to get the LED to light up on this, you hold the center button for several seconds. There you go. And that is highly visible at night. And then when that T stops flashing, the dial is no longer touch sensitive. Okay, so that guy's going to go back in the collection box. And this is a Young'un's digital, what's it called, Mega 1000. And as long as I have the lights off, let me see, yeah. This is also, this is its night view. And it's actually fine. You can tell it's not as bright as the T-Touch, but the T-Touch is almost too bright. Like if it's pitch dark, that's plenty of light to see the display by. Looks like this guy needs a battery change. Oh boy. Okay, that was insane. That was probably the best battery change video I've ever done. Actually, I've now done 2 battery change videos for the Tissot T-Touch. And right now, they are my 2 favorite videos I've ever made. So, thanks a lot if you watched this. All these other parts are just going back in the parts bin. Anyway, thanks a lot. See you later. Okay, so one little follow-up to this. When I was putting this stuff away, this is the old battery that was in that watch. I flipped it over, and it has that piece of plastic stuck to the battery. So I think I'll do a separate video. I'll change the battery in my other Tissot T-Touch, and I'll get it all right. Because this is something. This video is a joke now, but this is just a little trick that you have to know if you're going to open a Tissot T-Touch II. And it also raises that question of like, why would Tissot do something like that? If you're an engineer, product designer, and you build something like this into the design of a watch, you're basically like Apple doing all that stuff with the glue and the batteries in their devices. You're basically creating something that's going to create obsolescence. In Tissot's case, it's like the switches on the screws in the pushers. Like they're doing things that just necessitate either giving it back to them to do the service or risk unnecessary issues like this. Anyway, save that for another day, and that's that. Oh, one thing I did want to say. It's not that I got ripped off by a seller. This was the watch that I bought. This battery eventually did wear down, and there was no problem with the watch. It was not made incorrectly at the factory. It's simply that when I pulled the battery out, this piece of plastic stuck to the battery instead of staying inside the watch. You motherfucker.